The death of a living man. In a quiet town nestled between rolling hills and a shimmering lake, there lived a couple who seemed to be the epitome of love. Clara and Daniel had been married for 5 years, and to the outside world, their bond was unshakable. Clara was a radiant woman with a smile that could light up the darkest room, and Daniel was a devoted husband, a man of few words but immense love for his wife. They were the couple everyone admired, the kind of pair that made others believe in the magic of marriage. But beneath the surface of their seemingly perfect relationship, a storm was brewing, one that would shatter everything Daniel thought he knew about love, trust, and Clara, the facade of love. Clara was a master of deception. She had a way with words, a charm that could disarm even the most skeptical of hearts. She would often tell Daniel how much she loved him, how he was her everything, her soulmate. She would send him sweet messages throughout the day, reminding him of her affection. Daniel, a man of simple desires, believed every word. He trusted Clara implicitly, never once doubting her loyalty. But Clara's words were hollow, her promises empty. While she was texting Daniel sweet nothings, she was also entangled in a passionate affair with a man named Victor. Victor was everything Daniel wasn't: bold, adventurous, and dangerously alluring. He was the kind of man who thrived on excitement, and Clara was drawn to him like a moth to a flame. Their affair had been going on for months, hidden in the shadows of Clara's double life. She would meet Victor in secret, stealing moments of passion while Daniel was at work. She would return home, her heart racing, and slip back into her role as the doting wife, her lies weaving a web so intricate that even she began to lose herself in it. The cracks began to show. Daniel was no fool, though. He began to notice subtle changes in Clara's behavior. She was more distant, her smiles a little too forced, her eyes avoiding his gaze. She would often disappear for hours, claiming she was running errands or meeting friends. Daniel's heart ached with suspicion, but he pushed the thoughts away, and willing to believe that the woman he loved could betray him. One evening, as Daniel sat alone in their living room, he noticed Clara's phone buzzing on the coffee table. It was a message from Victor. Against his better judgment, Daniel picked up the phone and read the message. His heart sank as he scrolled through their conversations, each word a dagger to his soul. The sweet nothings Clara had been sending him were mirrored in her messages to Victor, but with a passion and intensity that Daniel had never seen. He felt as though the ground had been ripped out from under him. The woman he loved, the woman he had built his life around, was a stranger. The weight of her betrayal crushed him, and for the first time in his life, Daniel felt truly alone. The confrontation. When Clara returned home that night, she found Daniel sitting in the dark, her phone clutched in his hand. The look on his face told her everything she needed to know. She tried to explain, to justify her actions, but her words fell on deaf ears. Daniel was no longer the man who had loved her unconditionally. He was a shell of his former self, his heart shattered beyond repair. "How could you?" he whispered, his voice trembling with pain. "I gave you everything. I trusted you." Clara's tears were genuine, but they came too late. She had played with fire, and now the flames were consuming everything in their path. Daniel stood up, his movements slow and deliberate, and walked out the door without another word. He didn't know where he was going, and he didn't care. All he knew was that he couldn't stay in the house that had once been their home. The death of a living man. Daniel wandered the streets aimlessly, his mind a whirlwind of emotions. He felt as though he had died inside, his soul extinguished by Clara's betrayal. He was a living ghost, going through the motions of life but no longer truly alive. Days turned into weeks, and Daniel's pain only deepened. He couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't escape the memories of Clara's lies. Clara, meanwhile, was consumed by guilt. She had lost everything: her husband, her marriage, and her sense of self. She tried to reach out to Daniel, to apologize, to beg for his forgiveness, but he was unreachable. He had built a wall around his heart, and no amount of pleading could break it down. In the end, Daniel's pain became too much to bear. He disappeared one night, leaving behind a note that read simply, "I died the day I found out the truth." His body was never found, but those who knew him understood that he had died long before he vanished. Clara was left to live with the consequences of her actions, a constant reminder of the love she had destroyed. Epilogue. Years later, Clara would often sit by the lake, staring out at the water as if searching for something or someone. She had lost everything, and the weight of her guilt was a burden she would carry for the rest of her life. She had learned the hard way that love is not a game, and that the consequences of betrayal can be deadly. As for Daniel, he became a cautionary tale, a man who had died while still alive, his heart broken by the woman he had loved too much. His story served as a reminder that love, when true, is a fragile thing, and that once broken, it can never be fully repaired.